Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and today I am back to reviewing a game with
Bayonetta
2. This game originally released on the Wii U on September 20th, 2014 in Japan. Wait, this game released on my birthday? That's two games I really liked having a release on my birthday. Wow. It did release to the rest of the world in October though, so not as cool, but you know. But did get a release on the Switch in 2018 along with the first game, and that'll be the version I'll be talking about today. Although I don't believe that there are any big differences between the two releases. Also, sorry this took so long to get to, I'm just very slow at making these videos. Like I said in my Bayonetta 1 review, I have played this game before, however I was really bad at it, so I played it all the way through on easy, but for this review I played it on normal all the way through. Now I will be doing what I usually do for my review videos, where I will have a spoiler talk section, and before that I won't give any major spoilers or show any spoilers off. However, I will say I didn't record a lot of my first playthrough, so you'll see sections of having more health than I really would, and even wearing some cool costumes. This is because I actually played a lot of the game on handheld mode, and have no way to really record that. But anyway, let's get into it. There's an opening fight scene much like the first game with two witches, one being Bayonetta, fighting angels, and there's even fighting in a mech. There is a voiceover explaining stuff for the story they might find helpful if you are writing this review, but of course I'm terrible at writing these things. And we got to present day with Baldur at the ruins of Jubileus. I guess he didn't get blinked to death at the end of the last game, though we talked about some spirit not being able to run away from their fate, and falls to the ground and dissolves into dust. The story officially starts off with Bayonetta and John doing some Christmas shopping, and they are sporting totally new clothing and hair designs. However, the Angels of Paradiso don't want us to have a nice Christmas and attack, so John and Bayonetta go to fight them all over the city, even on jets and on side of buildings. However, using our climax attack, some demons are able to get through that portal and break free of Bayonetta's control. So yeah, along with the Angel faction, there are demons, and they even have their own names in books, which is really cool. Bayonetta doesn't realize what is happening and John steps in to save us. However, her soul gets knocked out of her body and gets brought into Inferno.
John!
This isn't how things end!
Basically killing her without actually killing her. Now we fly to fight this demonic dragon from actually killing John. After sending it back to where it came from, we get a scene of a Lumen sage with this other guy who tells him who apparently destroyed his world and the one he loved. We cut back to Rodon's shop and figure out that we can basically revive John if we are able to find her soul in Inferno by this time limit. And that's all I'm going to talk about before I get into my spoiler talk. We have a clear goal about finding John's soul, and along the way we meet this weird kid, and Luca's also here, however he doesn't really play too big of a role in this game, even compared to his role in the last game. And in this game, the Lumen Sage that we saw earlier is your rival, similar to John in the previous game, so you fought him through multiple times, but in this time he's a little bit different than John, where he has his own attacks compared to John, who was really similar to Bayonetta. I do recommend you play this game for yourself to experience the plot, but if you're not convinced yet, then I should probably talk a little bit about the gameplay. This game is basically the same from the first game with a few things changed up here and there, so I'm not going to really go into deep detail like I did in the last video, which you can check out if you would like. For example, which time is easier to activate? Pretty much any attack will do it, unlike the last game where so many boss attacks just didn't activate it. However, the timer, while time is slowed down, is much faster, so you really have to run over and hit the enemy or it'll be wasted. Also, there's a brand new mechanic that utilizes your butterfly gauge, so when it's full you can either do torture attacks to normal enemies, or you can do this feature called the Umbra Climax, which has every attack you do be a weave attack and do massive damage, and it even works on bosses, so the butterfly gauge isn't useless like it is in Bayonetta 1 during boss fights, which was a major complaint of mine, and I'm glad they figured out something to do with that. The Umbra Climax is even changed based on depending what weapon you have equipped. Like the last game, there are new weapons in this one as well, some carried over and some completely new. Luckily, I actually have gameplay of some of these new weapons, so you can see them. One more new thing for this game is the inclusion of finding enemies while flying. In the previous game, if you fought enemies in the sky, you were fighting them on a floating rock. But in this game, you sprout wings and actually attack the enemies while flying around. It's honestly nothing complicated, there are just certain sections where you need to do it, but I gotta say, it's pretty cool and a major improvement in my eyes. A lot of the moves are carried over from the first game, though there are some new ones here and there. Like the last game, you can also buy moves from the shop.
Seriously, at this point do I really need to explain how the damn shop works?
It works the exact same way as the last game, with you even being able to buy costumes, and unlike the last game you don't get any free Nintendo costumes, though the same ones are available in the shop for a lot of Halos. With the angels in this game, there are also demons that you fight, and they have their own themes for book names, their money drops, and even opening door shots, which is really cool. However, they do work fairly similar to angels, just different attacks and all. If you're curious about the levels in this game, I'm happy to say that they will work the same as the first game while running through linear levels with a few secret areas to find. And luckily they're a lot easier to find in this game, so I'm actually able to record them for you. When you are in them, you have to complete a certain challenge, such as defeating the enemies in a certain time limit, or even not being hit at all. You get rewards for completing them, much like the last game. Boss fights are also really cool in this game. Adding in the Umber Climax makes them much more enjoyable. My favorite parts are when you're fighting the Lumen stage and you get this epic scene between both of your summons, and I just think it's such a cool visual. Vehicle sections also return in this game, though they don't feel as long as the first games, but they are just as infrequent. Though I think I enjoy more in this game overall compared to the previous game just because they didn't feel like they went on for the whole level when the previous game just wanted to utilize them. Something that is not in this game that was produced in the last game was actually Angel Attack. It's completely removed as far as I can tell unless it's hidden away in some side mode. Now when you finish the level, you don't actually go to Angel Attack, you just go back to the screen, and it's disappointing because I actually ended up really liking Angel Attack and getting good at it, but oh well. You can still break things like pots and benches to get halos, and this time you can also get materials to make items, and for the best thing the developers did in this game, items no longer make you lose points at the end of the level, which means you can use items and not worry about it negatively affecting your score, though I am traumatized from the last game, so I still never use them. Though I feel like this game isn't as difficult as the last game, so there wasn't really a need for me to use items anyway. There wasn't points where I'm like, there's no way I could beat this level without an item, I would just have to get good at this game. Despite finding the game easier, I did find that it was much more difficult to get pure platinums in this game, and as an overall like gold and platinum level rankings, you had to like do everything really fast and perfect, while in the last game you could just not get hit and get a pure platinum. Not necessarily a negative thing in this game, but just something I found interesting. You can also play as John if you want in the main story. She's changed a bit from Bayonetta, like witch time being hard to pull off, but lasting for a longer time if you want a bit more difficult time. That doesn't change the story at all, you just get two Johns in the cutscene. They also removed QuickTime events and cutscenes, which is a very good thing, because along with items negatively affecting your score, dying to QuickTime events was the worst thing in existence in that last game. The climax button presses are still present though, but they feel much easier to max out on, so it's much easier to get the max score on them without having to do some crazy button mashing technique. Now talk about the visuals for this game. It's much similar to the last game based on model quality and such, but I feel like the whole game is just so much brighter. The last game felt very gray and brown, just like 360 era just felt as a whole. But with this game having so much more color, I feel like it makes it look a whole lot better. Like, look at some of these sections, like the gold just looks so good in my eyes. I don't know. I think this game looks really nice. Also, Bayonetta, John, and Luca sport some new designs. I go back and forth on whether I like Bayonetta's design better in this game or the last game, but John's is a definite improvement in my eyes. The longer hair makes her look so good. Like I said earlier in the video, I played a lot of this game in handheld mode, and I think it looks really nice in that mode, and is a viable way to play the game. I think the exact same thing for the previous game, it's just that there are so many consoles you can play that game on, and the only handheld ones are Switch and Steam Deck, but with Bayonetta 2, you can really only play it on the Switch, so it feels like a bigger deal when I'm talking about these games in a review sense. Still a great way to play if you want to play the game on the go. Now onto the sound effects and music of this game. I think the music, while good, isn't as memorable to me compared to the last game. I do like the climax and regular battle theme, but other than that, I couldn't tell you any of the other new songs. Maybe it's just because I used to listen to the first game soundtrack much more often, but yeah. Also, the title screen saying Bayonetta doesn't hit as good as the first game either. Like, I open the game, it's just as lame.
Bayonetta.
Also, I feel like the angel speaking doesn't really hit the same for me either. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't feel right. Though other than that, I think everything else is fine. The voice actors do a wonderful job, and they all return, which is something that won't be present for the next game. Okay, and I think that's everything I want to talk about before my spoiler talk section, but I really do enjoy this game. I think it's a fun sequel that does a lot of things that the last game didn't do as well at. Definitely feels like a sequel and remembers what makes the first game good and fun. Boss fights and regular enemies are fun to fight without being too difficult like the previous game. Like the previous game felt like levels went on forever like a gauntlet. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, you can stop watching the video now, and I hope you enjoyed the video and have a good day, but if you do want to hear spoilers, so throughout the story, you're trying to get to this mountain, and along the way you learn that this kid named Loki is actually part of this other light guy. He wants to become a god or something. I don't know, for some reason I find it so difficult to talk about the story elements, but if you play it, you understand it. Like, I get what's going on, but for some reason I have a hard time explaining it without feeling like I'm over-explaining it. But after fighting with Lumen Sage and the other half of Loki, we get sucked into Inferno.
That was unexpected.
Eventually, while traveling through Inferno and actually fighting alongside Rodon, we beat the spider person that set John's soul free. And while we're trying to get out of Inferno, the Lumen Sage chases down Loki to try and kill him, though we get in his way, and it turns out this Lumen Sage is Baldur, though much younger than we last saw him. I'm just glad his theme came back for this fight. It's amazing, and I don't know if this reveal is supposed to be like a big deal or not. I feel like people already knew it was probably Baldur, but the game at least feels like it's a big deal since when his mask is broken he gets called Baldur instead of Lumen Sage.
Umbral witch to die at my hand.
Then after the fight, Loki somehow transports us back in time to when the Umbral Witches and Lumen Sages were at war, so I guess it's similar to what happened to Cereza in the last game. Though we do get to fight in this cool power armor, which is the #1 thing I remember about this game. Anyway, after a pretty cool couple levels, we figure out Baldur saw Bayonetta's mom dying from Loki, except it wasn't Loki, it was this prophet guy named Llodg. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. His name's literally 3 different consonants in a row. I don't know who's expecting me to read this. But it's him just looking like Loki. So that's why Baldur went forward in time to fight him, but now he knows which side is right and that Bayonetta is his daughter. So we somehow make it back to present time and have to ride a jet up to the mountain. Man, this game really has all its best moments at the end of the game, huh? So we get to the top of the mountain, and oh, Luca is here. He's helping Loki get to the top too. Anyway, despite our efforts, even having Baldur officially go against him, we get the eyes of the world taken from us. Yes, they are a plot device in this game again, though they're kinda differently used. Still used to create a god though. Too bad for him though, gods are a speciality. So in a pretty cool 2-on-1 fight, we go against him. We even throw a giant space station on him. Loki eventually realizes throughout the fight that his power is to destroy anything, and ended up destroying the eyes of the world. I guess for good? So with Baldur's help, we create a giant summon and throw Lopter into John's climax while she's riding on a jet. Yeah, this game is pretty crazy. Though Lopter's soul is trying to return to the spirit realm, Baldur jumps in and traps his soul in its body, which explains why Baldur was evil in the last game, and thus traps Lopter in an endless loop. And just like that, the game ends on New Year's. Man, it would have been great to get this video out a month ago, huh? Anyway, we have some pretty cool credits just like the last game, and if you're curious, here are my rankings for all the levels. Like I said, I found it much harder to get pure platinums, so there are a lot more gold than platinums, but no stones, which is an improvement over the last game. So yeah, that's the story of Bayonetta 2. Once again, it's a really good time, game's great, and I think overall I like it a lot more than the last game. The improvements to things I dislike in the last game are really good. I think it is cool that we actually get to go to Inferno and fight demons. I just think that overall was a really cool inclusion, and especially when the demons speak, I think that was also really cool, and I feel like the demons talking is done much better than the angels talking in this game.
Madama Butterfly, O Cosmog, Kosai Oz, Love Utong, O Baskin Komana.
And talking about the costumes again, I really do love them, especially throwing the Star Fox one on the last level of the game, where the jet becomes an R-Wing. And it makes sense since Platinum would go on to develop Star Fox Zero. Dang, that game could have been so good. And once again, I really do like all the voice actors. Wait, young Baldur's voices also played Jeremiah Gottwald, Agent Orange, and Code Geass. And if Luca is also Yosuke, you know what those two things have in common? The main character in both of those things is voiced by Johnny Young Bosch. You know where else he voiced the main character? That's right, Devil May Cry 5. I'll get to reviewing that series soon. But in the meantime, I still need to play Bayonetta 3 for the first time, so I'll get to that first. I hope you enjoyed the video, have a good day, and goodbye!